franktalks.com.
Need help with love, sex, dating, or relationship issues? Help from Frank Kermit, the best-selling author and Canada's most international relationship coach, is only a click away at franktalks.com.
What do you get when you take one of the founding fathers of the seduction community and the leading expert on seduction layers in for a conversation? You get a discussion on what's wrong with the seduction community today. This is Steve P. I'm Frank Kermit, and today we're going to talk about where the seduction community is going. How you doing, Steve?
Great, Frank. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I want to start this off by talking about how the seduction community started. When we were there at the very beginning, you were a mentor to some of the biggest names who founded the seduction community. You saw the evolution of it from the very beginning. I came in a little later on in helping to organize Seduction Layers, and over the last few years, we have both seen an absolute disintegration from what the ideal brotherhood that used to exist in the seduction community, what that was founded on, is lost. We're really losing that, and I really want to hear from your perspective as a founding father of the seduction community. What was it like back then, so that people out there who are listening to us and watching us right now can get an idea of why we keep saying that the seduction community is going in a place that is not going to be helpful?
Okay, well, what's happening is there's a deterioration factor, and what that really means to me is that when we started this out, it wasn't my community or anyone else's. It was a bunch of us that used to get together, and we made an agreement to get together at least once, but usually at least 2 or 3 times a month on a weekend. And what we would do is we'd get together and would find out what was working, what wasn't working. I mean, back to the old NLP thing about if you keep doing the same thing, getting the same results, you're crazy if you keep doing that. So what we would do is we would improve. I mean, we would bring in different things like handwriting analysis,
Palmistry, runes,
all kinds of different, the cube, I mean, just tons of stuff that were just, it was great ways to introduce yourself to women, but also to build something more than stupid conversations. You know, like, what do you think about David Bowie, or, you know, some shit that nobody really even cared about, or I never cared about. The thing is that what we did was when we got together, we would actually go, how did this work? And we would help each other. Instead of trying to cock block each other, sometimes people would fall flat on their face. I mean, and Hypnotica, I mean, we've been partners a really long time, and we were doing this stuff, trying to put this stuff together before we ever heard about the other guys that were doing seminars. We were trying to bring groups together because you can learn more in a group, because that's how NLP really, it started out as an open architecture, which means like people would go in, practice a technique or something, take it back, and then what they would do is try it. If it didn't work, or if it did work, they'd bring it back to our group and would all tear it apart. Here's where it messed up this way. Here's where we could have improved on it. And the point of that was we learned a whole lot. And what we were really teaching, in retrospect, was how to build deeper levels of rapport and communication. Things that are very important in communication. These days, a lot of people are teaching stuff that I won't even put as having as much value as a bucket of troll trods. The bottom line on it is a lot of these youngsters are going out there, and I have nothing against the age thing. I mean, my kids are 20 and 21, and they're pulling women left and right, and they're using the same stuff, and they're coaching their buddies and stuff. The thing is that when you try to use bullshit and try to do something to somebody rather than open up the lines of communication, women and men know when you're bullshitting them. Take the whole sexual part of it out. If you've ever gone in to buy a car, you know when the guy's trying to sell you, some bucket of bolts and rust that's just anything to get you signed on the line. Women know that you're going to do that too. Understand that in our communications, this is really key. In our communications, we're always selling ourselves as a service, a product, an idea, or a combination thereof. That's what the point of communication is. And we got to understand the consumer of that, at least if you're heterosexual, is these women. And whatever relationship you want, you can have. So what I say is, first sell it to yourself and get a detailed clarification of what the heck you want in a relationship. Cut the bullshit. You know, a lot of guys are in a committed long-term relationship, and they go, wow, if an old dude like you can get multiple girlfriends, then shit, I should be able to do it. Then they go back and they cheat on the woman that they've made all these promises to. And the thing is, I do date multiple women, but my primary knows about it. We talk all the time. It's not like I'm sneaking out behind her back or milk routing behind her.
The fact is, when you know how to structure multiple relationships, when you know how to do it honestly, there's no reason to cheat. If anything, cheating at that point is going to destroy every relationship that you've been building. So what's the point of that?
Well, here's the other thing. Hypnotica used to do, like when he goes, yeah, this threesome shit is really great. He goes, man, you're fucking crazy. How can you put up with 3 or 4 or 5 of these, crazy women around you at the same time? Besides, they all go on their monthlies at the same time. And I go, yeah. He goes, fuck that. He goes, I like dating one at a time. And here's the thing. Guys, in their fantasies and their dreams, especially guys that are watching a lot of porn, they want to do, 2 women, 3 women, 4 women, because, wow, it's so great. For everybody that's going to do that, they say you should never have more women than you can support. And I don't mean financially support. I mean be there emotionally and completely there with them. Now, some of the young dudes that are out there going, oh, yeah, now that's talking like an old guy. Then fuck you is what I got to say to you, you fucking idiots. You guys want to talk about how my hair is from the 70s. You guys want to talk about how overweight I am. Well, you son of a bitches are busy jerking yourself off to a fucking porn on the web. I'm out getting pussy. So go fuck yourself. Now, back to the fucking point here. Be honest with yourself and what you want in a relationship. If you're not sure, and if you want to just test the fields, there's women that are out there exploring this stuff too. My suggestion is go out and find other women, especially college-age women. Why women go at least 150 miles away from home to go to college? Because they don't have to put up with the guilt of not their father, but their mother or their aunts and all the other bitches hanging around. I mean, I have women all the time telling me, going, why do you think I moved down from the Bay Area to hang out? If my mom knew I was going out with an old biker, holy shit, they'd send my brother and everybody else in, and then they go, I've never had such a loving and caring relationship, or a relationship where people were so damn honest.
You got to remember something. I think that in general, the people who are in the seduction community now, those guys who are getting into it, a lot of them never experienced for themselves any sort of deep emotional affection, any sort of deep emotional caring. That's why they're doing it to one another in seduction layers. You have guys who are backstabbing each other because they want to be able to be the one top guy. They take that same attitude into their relationships with women.
And then no matter what they have, it's never going to be enough. They're the guys that eat a meal and they're still hungry. They can go into a crowd, they're still lonesome. They can never have enough. They haven't learned to find what they want for themselves without the ego. People say that I'm no longer a pua, I'm an M-pua or some other name they gave me. I don't believe in that stuff anyways. I'm not a pua. I'm not a pickup artist. I teach people about relationships. Really, it's about what is the root word of relationships? It's relating to each other. And if you don't understand how to relate to other people, you've already lost it. So you have to first relate to yourself with what do you want in this interaction.
I think that a lot of guys, especially if they're younger, they don't even know what they want. They have no concept of who they are. So what they try to figure out is, I want relationships. So what is everybody else getting? That's what I want. And then they make the mistake of actually going to try and get the other guy's girl, the other guy's life, when they have no concept of whether or not that's even going to be fulfilling.
Well, and also they start acting like the other guy. These guys start acting out some role that they aren't, whether they're wearing eyeliner and lipstick or whatever they call it. They don't call it lipstick because that'd be too feminine. But it's lipstick. Fuck it. You can call it lip gloss. That's what they call it. You know what? If you got to put that much makeup on, maybe you just want to go see a guy.
Okay. Let's be fair. There are some women out there who do like guys who are going to be metrosexual. There are going to be women out there who want the guy with the black nail polish. There's nothing wrong with that if that particular style already reflects something going on inside you.
Okay, but here's the thing with that, Frank. There may be women that are attracted to that because it's shiny at first. But if that person is really not that, and they're only acting that, You should be and present what you are. It's my Wonder Bra theory. Have you ever seen a woman with Wonder Bra? You know what they are? Women have little fried eggs. They put this bra on, squeezes their titties up. You know why they call it a Wonder Bra? As soon as the bra comes off, you wonder what happened to the tits. Same with the guy wearing the boa and all the other stuff. If you really live that lifestyle, and that's truly who you are, rock and roll, brother.
I agree.
But be honest to yourself and sell who you are and sell what you are.
All right. Here's a bit of advice. I want to get your take on it. If you want to get particular girl A, look at the guys that she's already dating and be like that guy. If a guy wants particular girl A, not because he's necessarily thinking that's the best possible life partner I could have, but because, he just wants that girl, he might adopt some of the traits, some of the looks, some of the whatever of the guys that she's already dating. But what happens when those things that he's adopting aren't for him? Is he wrong to want that girl?
Let me ask it to you like this. You ever eat a green apple?
Sure.
You ever eat a Macintosh?
Sure.
You ever eat a Golden Delicious?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever noticed that they polish those things and wax them up real good? They taste worse than the ones you pull off the tree that aren't polished. A lot of times what people are going after is the polished apple that tastes terrible. It's out of season. I apologize for the metaphor, but the thing is, I want these guys to think a little bit deeper. If all they're doing is looking at what superficially this woman represents, they're not thinking of who she is really. They don't know. And a lot of these guys don't know who they are. What my suggestion is not that you're wrong in that notion. What I'm saying is you're absolutely right, but people should consider what do they want if they're looking for a life partner or they're looking for just pickup. Look, if guys want to just get picked up or pick up a girl, it's the easiest thing in the world. I used to take guys out in the field and do this, and I would make them pay me lots of money, and that every night they got laid. It was that simple. You go to college area, you find girls that you never get there before 10:30 or 11 at night, and you watch the girl that pops her head up that's sitting with her friends. We call them gophers because they broke the whole congruence of that circle where women are trying to act cool, calm, and collected. The one who's just going, fuck it, I want to get some guy tonight. Here's the reality. If they're in a heterosexual-oriented bar, they shave their legs, they shave their armpits and other parts of their anatomy, and they usually put a lot of time and effort into makeup, hair, and dolling themselves up, not because they want to go home with a woman or with their girlfriends. They're going out there, and what I have women tell me over and over is, I wish I could find a guy that it was worth the time it just took me to shave.
Okay, you talked about how teaching guys to go out and pick up is easy. What I'm hearing from you right now is that what makes it easy for you to teach them is that you're not sending them to go after the girls who aren't interested in meeting a guy. You're pointing them in the right direction. You're teaching them the signs that they have to find for women who are interested in going home with a guy.
If you're interested in just one-night stands and picking up a chick in the bar. I mean, I knew guys that were great, and they had wonderful ladies, but they go, yeah, but I've never pulled a chick out the same night. Guys are really silly about their goals in life. Like they go, if I'm going to settle down with this woman the rest of my life, I want to have been able to say to my kids, yeah, I could go into a bar and I picked a chick up, took her home that night and banged her. I go, is that really the lifestyle you want to convey to your kid? Okay. I mean, my kids grew up where men or women, if they came into my house and they were rude, they saw their dad pick the guy up and throw him the fuck out of the house. The thing is I don't care if it's a woman. If she's being a bitch, I go, shut the fuck up. If she doesn't shut the fuck up, I throw her ass out right then and there.
Okay, but when we talk about these same guys who are saying, someday I want to be able to tell my kids whatever, you're talking about a bunch of guys who, first of all, probably didn't have the type of relationship with their own fathers that they wanted, so how would they know what they're going to want to tell their kids? I've recently become a father, and I can tell you that the ideas of, well, I want to be able to tell my kids these things, you know what, there's a lot of things I don't want to tell my kid. Now, if he asks me, I'm going to be honest with him because I want to establish an honest bond with my son because I want him to know he can trust his father. But when they're setting those type of goals, they might be setting those type of goals on what they think that they're going to want long term. But without knowing who they are, those are the type of goals that are going to change inevitably.
Well, it's like people who buy boats or Ferraris. The two greatest times in that person's life is when they buy it and when they sell it. I mean, until you own it, you just don't know. They're presupposing how they're going to respond and react to something that's an illusion, because it's only information. Until you experience something like the birth of a child and rearing that child, you cannot tell me how the hell you're going to respond. I raised a stepchild, and then I raised my 2 boys. The way I raised my boys is, if you're cool, you're cool. If you're not, I'm going to tell you you're a piece of shit, whack them on the head, or, whatever the hell. Some people go, oh man, you were so brutal to those kids. Hey, you know what? Fuck you. You go raise your kids the way you want to raise your kids. I raise my kids the way I raise them. And you know what? My kids, they got respect, they got manners, and they're doing pretty good in the world.
I want to take this conversation slightly different direction.
Okay.
What would you say to the guy who, because he really doesn't know any better, and he doesn't know who he is yet, and he's going out and he's going to experiment with a different look, he's going to experiment with a different style of talking, because we're dealing with guys who, let's say, in terms of social skills, we're dealing with guys on the bottom rung.
Okay.
And, let's be fair to some of these guys. The only way they're going to know whether or not something is for them is to try it. How far from the time they're in that mode of experimentation do you say to them, okay, look, you've been trying it. Yeah, you might have even gotten the girl, but you weren't able to keep her. At what point do you say to these guys, what the hell are you doing?
Getting the girl and keeping her isn't even the issue, because sometimes you got to get the girl and boot the bitch out. I got no problem booting anybody out. The point is, my suggestion to all these guys is find a mentor. When we first had these groups, I don't know who came up with the first lair or the name lair, but I know that when we had our study groups, we'd bounce around between San Diego, LA, and we found other brothers that were just putting these groups together. And then somebody announced it as a lair, and then somebody else wanted to take credit. The hell with all them. Here's what I'm going to tell you. If you're just getting started, go out, find a mentor. Find somebody that holds the heart values, the core values that you hold as true. And then emulate, don't imitate. See, that's another thing. Everybody's trying to imitate a bunch of bullshit, and it comes off insincere.
What's the difference? What's the difference between imitating and emulating? And I'm asking this seriously because I want to know too.
Imitation is when you're putting on the hat, you're putting on the vest, and you're trying to act like what you think I'm doing. I'm not my hat or my vest. Emulation is understanding the core values and starting to understand how that functions. It's the context rather than the content. The content is, I have glasses, I have a hat, I wear Native American jewelry that was gifted to me by some, real good friends. The thing is, I don't walk around, or else some people go, oh yeah, I just tell women, you be with another woman or fuck you, bitch. I don't do that. I tell women in the first few minutes of meeting them, I only date bisexual and bi-curious women, which to them is lucky, because all women are bisexual or bi-curious. The difference, of course, I can see the question coming, what's the difference between bi-curious and bisexual? All women are bisexual. As a matter of fact, when we're in the belly, we all started out as females until an SRY chromosome was introduced, the Y chromosome. That made us men. Men become digital to the point that they're either gay or straight, attracted to women, attracted to men. Women, because the SRY is not, still fluctuate back and forth. All women are bisexual by nature, but because of religion, culture, social circles, personal friendships, they go, oh, no, I don't ever do that. Yet, when you start delving a little bit deeper, I'll ask women, I'll say, well, wait a minute, you're not bisexual or bicurious? No, I go, you ever been with a woman? They go, well, what do you mean, been with a woman? See, they define it differently. It's like, if I say to them, I go, have you ever kissed a woman? Well, yeah, but, I was drunk. I go, no, I don't need the drunk story. Have you ever licked a woman's breast? Well, yeah. I go, have you ever licked her belly? Yeah. Have you ever licked a little, let's say, south of the belly? Well, yeah, once you do, but I was like drinking tequila. I go, no, let me explain something about tequila. I was a biker for 17 years, and I drank my share of tequila and shit. I never kissed a guy, never licked his nipples, never sucked a dick. But women have a different way, and to them, well, it was just a girl I was just exploring.
It doesn't count.
It doesn't count. We're back to the it doesn't count factor. But it's also the way that women count a lot of relationships. When I talk to my primary girlfriend, or even girlfriends in the past, and we're still good buddies, I go, Women have a real fucked up way about talking about relationships. They go, yeah, well, we do. We have to. It's self-defense, because otherwise guys figure that we're just whores and sluts. You know, even though they want to have a girl that's well experienced, they don't want a whore or a slut. But they have a different way of counting. You know, it's like when they were single, just picking up a guy that was buying them drinks, and they kind of thought, oh, he's kind of charming, maybe he'd be a good fuck. That didn't count. It never counts. They're just at the bar or the club. Sometimes they go out just with their girlfriends to laugh at how stupid the guys are, fumbling over themselves. I go, God, you are a cunt. What a piece of shit you were. Why would you do that? They go, well, because some of these guys were just totally hardcore arrogant. Or like, you know, I bought you a hamburger, now you owe me a blowjob. I go, well, that is kind of rude. You know, I mean, if you want to buy somebody a hamburger, however, I have used that as a pickup line before. I was in this town up in Colorado, and I go, do you know the difference between a hamburger and a blowjob? The girl goes, no. I go, well, they got a Burger King down here. I'm buying burgers. And she just goes, you're an asshole. I go, absolutely. But they knew that it wasn't like it was some kind of like, I paid for a $15 burger, you know, you owe me something. If you're going to give something to somebody, go out and just give it to them. See, the other thing is that a lot of people in this community, they're competing against each other. Instead of being brothers, helping each other and helping fine-tune the skills, they'll sell out a brother to go with this lady. You know, maybe she's a lady, maybe she's just a bitch. You know, maybe she just wants to see if she can get you to game your boy. The point of it is, there used to be a sense of community. It's whittling itself away to where you have all these other little factions. And the thing is, guys, the competition is not against you and your other brothers that come together in this community. The competition is with you to accomplish more and develop your skills.
One of the things that I've been teaching my students is that the only person you're in competition with is yourself. You're not in competition with any other guy, because what they are competing with is themselves. In the end, the girl is going to go home with who she wants, the one that she likes best. And it doesn't matter if you're beating out one of the other guys to get her. You still have to be at your own personal best. It's the guy who is truly at his personal best that's the one who's going to end up with the girl. And if he's focusing on being better than the next guy here and there, he's focusing on the wrong thing.
I have an outlook like this. I don't really believe that it's always the woman's decision. I think at some level, it is the woman's decision who she's going home with. I have a thing I call cat theory. When they come up and they come up meowing at you, the farther you flip them and push their ass away, you're the big challenge. Women love something that's challenging for them. Wrap your head around this, at least for a moment. Cock opportunity comes to every woman just because she has tits and a twat.
Agreed.
And the prettier she is, the more cock opportunity she has. But that cock opportunity also means she's usually a lazy fuck in bed. My experience, I mean, I've banged quite a few models, and they're just lazy. It's kind of like, I'm the starfish glued to this rock, and do what you need to. And right now, it's like, in my current sideline job, it's like where we're teaching women how to awaken with White Tiger Tantra. We're teaching these models out of Vegas, and they talk about how their vaginas haven't worked for 11, 12 years. And we get them fired up. I mean, it's a lot of work because they vibrated and damaging the dendrites and the nerve endings. And so we go, if you use a vibrator, we won't work with you. If you leave that alone for a month, we can show you how to have the most incredible, phenomenal, full body orgasms. See, women think that by masturbating, they rub the clit. See, here's another thing. Guys, learn about female anatomy. If you want to learn how to ride that thing, learn how to maintain the thing. And here's the thing. The clit isn't just a little thing at the top. As a matter of fact, when a woman orgasms, she has a hood that comes down and covers that because it's too intense. It's where the nerve endings are. But that clit comes down like this and runs like a wishbone inside the vagina. Learn something about the female anatomy. I get letters all the time. Women are going, I have like clitoral orgasms like the ones I discovered by myself when I was in 6th grade or 7th grade, but it's not the kind of orgasms these women are talking about on your YouTubes. You know, I mean, we don't have them naked on YouTube. YouTube would throw us off. But we have women interviewed. And what ends up happening is if women learn how to do this system, they learn how to have full-body orgasms, which release serotonin, dopamine, just all these wonderful chemicals. And they're stoned on natural highs. We only work with women that, at least at the time, they're sober. First of all, when you know how to operate their vaginas better than they do, you're going to have a phenomenal level of confidence. I'm a little bit old-fashioned in my biker ways about this. I honor if there's a union between a man and a woman or a man and 3 women or whatever, I don't mess with anybody's old lady, especially with the lesbians, just because some of the lesbians go, my God, I've been with women for the last 6 or 7 years and I've never felt this awakened down there. And I go, look, if you leave the vibrators and the rabbits and the symbians alone, you have 8,000 nerve fibers inside the vagina. They interlace with in excess of 15,000 other nerve fibers through the whole pelvic and hip region. If you understand how to move this stuff and how to really work with a woman, you'll have levels of confidence that women will tell other women about you. Here's the other thing. Women talk. If you're taking pictures of her and posting it, they're going to hate you. Quit talking about them. Grow up, grow out of that shit. It's bullshit.
Always protect her reputation.
Exactly. Because if you don't, they're going to find out you violated that act of trust. And once you've betrayed them, there's no going back unless she wants to pay you back for something.
Now, getting back to our situation where the guys in the layers are backstabbing one another, I think across the board, we're dealing with a younger generation that has no expectation of privacy. So they don't get the concept of protecting people's reputations. They don't have any sense of real intimate privacy to be dealing with. Most of them are very inexperienced when it comes to romantic relationships. It's all new for them. And they're coming into seduction layers and they figure, well, I'm just going to trash talk this person, trash talk that person, stab this person in the back. It's not like when we started out.
That's true, but they have to find better mentors. Because when they get out into real life and they start doing that shit in a bar and stuff, I mean, some of these guys might know something about martial arts, but there's some people that are in these bars that are pretty well equipped with street language themselves and know how to handle themselves. And you get stabbed or shot or your ass beat pretty fucking hard walking in being a punk doing that bullshit. Now, upscale bars in LA, you might get away with it for a while, but, you know, I've worked with people that had their ass beat the shit out of them in an alley, and they just go, dude, it was like, you know, I went and cut this guy off, started talking to his chick, and they waited outside. When I got out there, they nailed me outside my car and slammed his head in his door, you know. I'm just kind of going, you're lucky you didn't get stabbed or shot, you dumbass. What are you talking to somebody else's old lady in front of him like he's a piece of shit? You know, I mean, you're crazy. The thing is you don't have to be rude or disrespectful. That's not what alpha males do. You know, this whole bullshit about alpha males, first of all, I think it's a bunch of bullshit. I think what you need to do is, what do you want in a relationship? Here's the other thing. If you're going out with somebody else's old lady, maybe she dumps that guy and then you get to be her husband. I mean, it is what it is. Hell, the guy should send you $100 and tell you thank you for taking the bitch away. Thank you for stealing that. Bottom line on it is, fine, go do it. And maybe there's a great lesson there for you. I mean, maybe there's something from the heartbreak and torment, but you can't save people from that.
You can't save people from themselves. If someone doesn't want to be saved, there's nothing you can do that's going to save them. What I remember when we started these, you know, layers, which really were basically support groups. We called them layers, but they were support groups. I remember coming in and saying, okay, this is what I tried this week. This worked, but this didn't. Where'd I go wrong? And you had 4 or 5 other guys that were saying, well, maybe you should try this, maybe you should try that. And everybody sourced their information. Nobody says, well, this is my own idea. They says, well, I studied it in here, or my friend did this, or and there wasn't this...
It was a much more open architecture. Now everybody's trying to do it and support themselves totally off of this community. I think that people should make money for what they're doing. But if you want to make knowledge grow, you have to have your group that's going to help you fine-tune and test these things.
I want to talk about Instant Guru.
Okay.
Okay, this little phenomena here. Conversation happened here in Montreal. 2 young guys who were just learning. I think they attended a boot camp of some sort. And they were saying, hey, you know what? We could really set something up here. We could really scam a bunch of these guys. And they were talking about it openly with a bunch of us around. I wasn't exactly there, but this is what was relayed to me. So they're talking about this openly, about, you know, we could get together, we'll just set up a website, we'll set up a company, and we'll make lots of money. And basically you had a couple of virgins, you know, yeah, okay, they got laid a few times, but you basically had a couple of virgins who wanted to teach other guys about how to pick up women. And they're not coming into it looking to support one another. They're coming into it figuring they're going to make a quick buck.
Right. What they're doing is they're regurgitating, spitting out the same old stuff. Some of these guys have gone to 1 or 2 seminars. Next thing you know, they're on stage as, well, I can run my own boot camps now. And these guys aren't even getting laid.
I was interviewed by a magazine in Toronto asking me just how many of these seduction-related businesses are there. And I said, I cannot give you an exact number because there's too many fly-by-night companies that'll set up the website, set up some information, and the guys behind it disappear. And they retire. I don't like this idea about retiring from game, because if this is something that you are, if this is truly an extension of what you practice day in and day out, your base life philosophies, the rules of relationships you practice every day with your partners, there is no retiring. You are who you are. You can't retire from yourself.
Right. What are you going to do? Live in a cave?
Well,
the point is, these guys are doing it as a big scam. I mean, we've been hammering pretty hard on the scam and stuff, but the thing is there's other people like Cliff of Cliff's List, David D'Angelo's stuff, helping people become better at their skills and at skill building. There's some other people that when they put on seminars, they pull people that are actually getting laid and living the life and put them on stage, and these people are really doing what they're saying. In most cases, I guess it's hard to really police that stuff really well, but I mean, most of the guys that I've met, like at a Cliff's List thing or at a David D'Angelo stuff, in their real life, they were actually out there. It's buyer beware is the advice. Buyer beware. I mean, if the guy's 24 and he's telling you he's been laying supermodels for the last 17 years, kick him in the nuts.
we actually had this problem when I was running my seduction lair in Toronto. We had a guy come in because he had some sort of NLP background and was insisting, look, I can really do a good 1 hour presentation on NLP. And I figured, well, we don't have anybody else here who specializes in NLP. Okay, why not? Let's give this guy a shot. And I wasn't there for that meeting, but when the members relayed back to me, and you're dealing with members who, in that room, had actually met a number of my mentors, myself, and the guy was running their stories. We literally had, and I kid you not, one of the people's stories that he stole and presented as his own had actually spoken at the lair 3 weeks prior. And he's talking about this story, and the guys are in the room looking at each other like, didn't we hear this before? Wasn't that? But nobody said anything. And afterwards, I had to talk to him and say, listen, where did you get these stories? Because I don't think they're your stories. I happen to know the people intimately whose stories you took. Well, and he tried to pretty much pass it off as, well, in NLP, you could take other people's stories and present them as your own, and it's part of understanding the experience. And I just shut him down, and that was it. This is what it's coming to.
Well, Zan and Johnny and I, we were doing a seminar, and one of the guest speakers came up, and he'd been over there presenting the stuff in the foreign languages. We all went out to get some water and stuff and come back in. When we come back in the thing, he's telling one story, and he's trying to portray stuff the way Johnny would be doing it. I mean, Johnny's story in Johnny's tone. And then he switches over, and then he does his impersonation of Zed. And, we're all laughing, and I'm just going, God, he's got you guys down pretty good. Then he does everybody's impression of me is, fuck you, bitch, get the fuck out, go check a tire, I'm driving off, you fuck cunt, And I'm just going, holy shit. And we're all right there, like, backstage, and we're just looking at each other going, what the hell is he clowning us? Because we're all right there, and he's using all of our stories. He goes, oh, no, these were just my favorite ones to use. They're teaching stories. You get people that have no experience, and they don't really know how to teach, so they use other people's real life stories, and they use them as teaching stories. Here's another thing. Guys, if you don't get back to a sense of community and realize that you're brothers helping brothers, you better be aware of something that's coming down the pike in the female communities. Right now, there's a lot of these women that are starting women's groups, and they're doing things in the book, The Rules, and they're starting study groups, and they're studying this stuff. By the way, the rules is the rules 1, the rules 2, or the combination, which is the complete rules, and rules for marriage. And I think there's another one that's in between there that was about rules for internet dating. These women, they don't compete against each other. They already know they can go find a dick. Any woman can walk into any bar. This is what I mean about cock opportunity and go, fellas, free pussy. And she'll walk out of there with more pricks than a porcupine. What you have to understand You don't think so?
I love the metaphors.
Okay. Well, the thing is you got me laughing. But
Happy porcupine.
yeah.
All right.
So, anyways, these women know they can get a dick anytime they want. But how to get the one that's going to be able to support them and live a lifestyle that they want, that's what the rules is all about. And, you might think you're past it, or, you can tell because you did a hypnosis weekend or an NLP weekend. Let me tell you, they've got these support groups totally helping each other. And they'll run just like the early days, like where guys would have, they're like wing guys that would take the chubby chick out so the guy could get the cute girl and all that. I mean, that's what it used to be like. And maybe there's still some of these layers where these guys are really helping each other out. And if there are, kudos to you guys, man. Get back to it. And if you see the younger brothers screwing up, just say, hey, this is uncool, dude.
I'm on the phone with a lot of layer leaders around the world, and they're struggling. This is not just something here in North America. This is layers around the world that are struggling with this. You have the older guys or the older guard that's been there a number of years. They get it. They get that there are just certain lines you don't cross. Every guy has an off-limits girl where you don't go after the one girl because he's got a fixate on her or he's particularly working on her. You help one another out. The amount of competition that's happening even within seduction layers is killing the very brotherhood that helped people get better. Some of those guys who I helped when I was running a layer, who helped me when I was going through my development, we may not see each other for years, but if I come across them on the street or I see them at a meeting, it's like we haven't been apart for years. We shake hands, we hug. All right, we still have each other's backs. I know that if I'm in a bar and some guy wants to come by and have a fight with me, I got 7 guys ready to die for me. Same thing. That's lost now because layers are getting way too big and the people coming in don't have an appreciation. When we were doing it, there was no the type of copying and downloading and stuff that was happening on the internet. There was very little access to it. When we were there, we were investing in the actual original CDs, audio cassette tapes, VHS tapes. We were investing in that. We studied it as a group.
Right.
And if you weren't pulling your weight, you were out. It was hard to find and be part of this tight-knit brotherhood. You had to work to find it, and you had to work to stay in it. And if you weren't working your ass off, you were just uninvited. Don't come back. And then they started trying to run layers as a business where the more people we have, the better it is. No, the more people you have, the more infighting that occurs. A layer that has maybe 20 guys that form a solid brotherhood of watching each other's backs. These are the guys that'll go up to somebody and say, "Hey, listen, I heard what you were saying to that girl. Stay off that track," or "I didn't see that she was having a good reaction. Oh, I didn't know. What should I do now? Try this." These were the guys who came up and helped make you look good.
They helped you hone your skills. See, part of what's happening right now, and it isn't just in America, it is all around the world, is there isn't any course that's called the apprenticeship of love. We have lost that art form. Like when I was growing up, I'm a lot older than these cats now, and I'm ready to hand off this whole dating and seduction things to my kids, and I've got 2 other communities that I'm working with. And I really enjoy developing these new communities, and it's just like, wow, these people are great to work with. My kids still like taking people out and do dating stuff, so I'll let them have this stuff and they can run with it. When people don't have a boundary and they're just shooting in the dark, they're missing the whole experience. I'm not into this whole battle of the sexes, the guys against the girls and all that. We extend invitations like, I'm going to go out and have fun. And if this lady wants to come along, she's invited. But it's just like if I was going to invite one of my friends to come along. You can come along with us. Whether I'm inviting this girl to come with me and my primary, that's something my primary and I have already agreed upon. We're extending an invitation. If she doesn't want to accept it, so be it. There's lots more that will take the opportunity and learn some incredible stuff. I'm not there as, this is my goal, I'm a failure if I don't get this boopsie here with her tits popping out the top. I don't care about that. I mean, I'm going out and I'm talking to people all the time.
Okay, but Steve, at your level, it makes sense for you to do that. But when you're talking about somebody who doesn't even know how to go out and have fun,
get a mentor. If you didn't know how to do welding, are you just going to pick up a blowtorch and just start, carving on your car? You prep before you apply. right?
Okay, so we've talked about getting a mentor, taking on the apprenticeship of love. Let's talk about how do you pick a good mentor, because I think maybe that might be what's missing. Because I was lucky when I started this. All right, I met Cliff through this. Cliff knew you, he knew Doc, he already had a network pretty well established, and a lot of you guys that I learned from. And even now, as a mentor myself to other people, I have to be very careful who I'm going to be recommending, because I know that as a mentor to somebody who's asking me questions, I have to be very responsible about who I introduce as mentors to my students. How do you pick a good mentor?
It's really not that complex. Find somebody who you like what their lifestyle looks like, and then investigate it a little bit. Is that really the lifestyle at this point of your development that you want to be involved with? Some people are going to want to do the swinger scene, or what they now call polyamory. Some still want to do pair bonding. That's fine. That whatever it is, be honest with yourself about what it is. Listen to what people say, but watch what they do and how they live. And then say, is this really what I want as part of my being?
I want to add something to that.
Okay.
It's not like I agree with everything you've said. The one thing I would add is, how do they go about getting that? Because it's one thing if they have the lifestyle of, let's say, multiple girlfriends. Not everybody does that ethically. Not everybody does that honestly. So you could have two guys who have, let's say, 3 girlfriends apiece, except one of them is like what you do, what I do, we're open about it, we're honest about it. And then you got the guy who has 3 girlfriends, but he's basically cheating on all 3.
Right.
So I think that has to be a part of it when you say, look at the type of life they lead. Because the way that they maintain that lifestyle, if it's through lies, if it's through cheating, or if it's through ethics and honesty, that is also part of the type of lifestyle you would want to emulate.
Choose a person that has values, because whether you want threesomes, foursomes, or moresomes, the bottom line on it is, if you do it ethically, you're going to develop a long-term relationship that has sustained equity. That people do in their private life is what they're going to do to other relationships. If you believe that they're only doing this because that human has tits and they aren't going to do it to you, you're a fool and you deserve what you're going to get. The thing is, when you take pussy at any price, sooner or later, it's going to cost you almost everything. Or as Rod Stewart says when they ask, Rod, do you think you're ever going to get married again? He goes, no, next time I see a real nice looking woman and I want to have sex with her, maybe I'll just write her a check and buy her a house afterwards. That way at least I don't have to pay the legal fees. The other thing is, find a guy that has the values you like. Like, people will always say, oh, my life is so great, I have 3 women. Watch how they interact in that lifestyle in that house. If you haven't lived that lifestyle, maybe it is for a while what you want. Then go and do that. And here's the other thing. Because you use one mentor, and then you decide to change your way of being, that doesn't mean you have to give shit about somebody else that you first learned from. Be respectful, because whoever the first person was that opened up and gave you this amount of time and caring,
he was being your best friend because nobody else gave a damn about you when you needed it, when you started.
Right, and that doesn't mean because you've developed and changed your direction, doesn't mean his message is any less. So, yeah, I mean, because I hear these guys all the time about, well, I did with this person, now, oh, well, he's outdated. Go fuck yourself. You're a rude little disrespectful prick. You should thank and honor the people that were willing to take you under their wing and give you some level of education, especially in the apprenticeship of love. When they're going to share with you, this is how you do this. I mean, right now, like a lot of these little smart-ass punks, they want to come in and do the hands-on training with White Tiger Tantra. I won't even work with them because they want to do it to make these women their bitches. It's called Tantra, which is sacred sensuality. And when we open this stuff up, we help these women that have been faking orgasms 8 to 12 years, time and time again. I mean, we're teaching these groups of guys that come in how to do this, because there's more women with vaginas that aren't working than I can work on. So I'm taking guys that have integrity, and me and my crew, we train these guys, but I'm very particular who I'm going to share that knowledge with, because it's a very sacred thing. And when you release this woman, she is going to go from being a little girl and having to fake orgasms into opening up her full womanhood.
Something we had talked about earlier, and this is something that I do in my work, which is focusing on repeating behavior patterns. If you're going to associate with people who will lie to women, will cheat on women, these are the same people who are going to lie and cheat in their business deals. These are the people who are going to lie and cheat on their friends. And we're not even talking about any sort of romantic relationship. We're talking about people who are going to backstab those who trust him. And a lot of guys don't seem to understand that. A person isn't bad because they're great in their life and they treat women horribly. If they're going to treat people horribly, whether it's men or women, eventually they're going to screw over everybody.
Exactly. Well, especially if you can have a highly intimate connection with some woman and it's all based on a pack of lies on something that's not that intimate, that's only perhaps dealing with money or something else, it's going to be a lot easier for that person to burn you on those bridges.
I put out a product on how to be the ethical seducer. And one of the things I talk about in that product is you're not just an ethical guy in your relationships. You got to be ethical across the board. And if you're not ethical across the board, something's going to give. So if anything, your relationships shows just how ethical or how honest you're going to be. Because if you can't even be honest there, the guy who's cheating on his wife is probably going to be cheating on his friends too. Maybe not sexually at that point, but he's cheating them out of something because that's his repeating behavior pattern.
Totally agree. You know, and the thing is that on the other side of that, I divide people into these givers and taker modes. When you start getting rid of those takers, let the takers take that road out. And you start surrounding yourself with people willing to put forward the work and really wanting to learn. It doesn't matter if you're a teacher or if you're somebody looking for a mentor. Put the work in. Try the stuff out. That's what I'm talking about with the emulate, not just imitate.
I want to add something here too, being a good student. Because we've been talking now about how to find a good mentor. Let's talk about what it takes to be a good student, because I've had people contact me saying, Frank, you're great. I've read your books. I studied this. Oh, I want to learn from you. Okay, you've made the purchases. Great. Join up on my forum. And I'll give them homework assignments. And I'll say, well, look, this is what you're struggling with. This is what I want you to do. This is what I want you to focus on. And then I never hear from them again. And they might contact me 6 months later. Yeah, I got really busy. I got really sidetracked. So from your perspective as a mentor, what do you look for in a student?
We do it all the time. I mean, the guys that are working for me, we call them test. I mean, see, guys are willing to go and do a test on a lady, but you know what? I test them all the time. And if they can't follow through and keep their word and be honest, I don't need that. I also have a real large knowledge base, and how much I want to share with somebody is to determine how are they going to use it. If I'm going to be teaching somebody and they're going to be out screwing guys over or screwing ladies over, I'm really not interested. There's enough other people that will teach you how to hypnotically seduce a woman into their bed. Great. If that's really where you're at, go find those guys. Don't bother me. I'm much more into building relationships with people that I bring into my life that I can enhance their life and they're going to enhance mine. It's a much more balanced way to live for me.
Do you ever worry about some of the students? This is one of the concerns I've had, because when I started getting more and more people contacting me, I became very aware that you really don't know who these guys are. You don't know what their intentions are. I've just developed such a suspicion, and I'm not happy being suspicious of them. Because in that pile of guys coming in, maybe there's one or two really good guys who they honestly...
That's why you need to test them, Frank. It's a Buddhist notion. What is. The Buddha says our greatest source of suffering comes from the resistance of what is. You're going to find a lot of people that are shits. My mom had a real good way. My mom was an incredibly positive lady. She goes, there are people that go around, they just hate everybody. They're miserable. They just walk around and they spew bad stories saying that everybody's a shitty person. No matter how much you trust them, they're going to shit on you. And they go around and they prove it again and again and again. She goes, I'm more of one of these people that believes all people have some level of good in them. And that's the part that I want to look for. It's back to the notion of that you seek, you will find. When I rode scoots, I learned a lot about, mess with another man's drugs. You don't mess with another man's money. You don't mess with another man's woman. I don't do drugs, so that's not a problem with me. I don't take other people's money. I earn my own. And I don't want another man's woman. So it's pretty much easy for me. It comes back to the notion of you become your environment, and your environment becomes you. There is no separation. They say the man who holds the strongest frame runs his universe. As a matter of fact, this thing about not being a husband or being the marrying kind and all that shit, let me explain something. If these women really understood what it says, read the dictionary sometime. You ever looked up the word husband?
No, I didn't.
Oh, incredible. You can learn a whole lot, because I do this just because that way you can give an intellectual, rather than go just my typical, go fuck you, bitch, or fuck you, you cunt. I can actually be intelligent about it. Husband says, master of his household, also payer of needs of that household. Under wife, it says, hostess of household, serving a master. Interesting. But when they talk about husband and wife right now, the edges have been blurred.
I think that this upcoming generation of guys have so lost their gender role. Their gender role has been redefined for them that they're very much lost. Women's gender roles are being rewritten for them as well, and they aren't any happier.
The roles have been switched, mainly because a lot of kids that are growing up in single-parent households, either the mom, the grandma, the aunt, usually, or maybe, in my case, it was the dad raising the kids. And whether people like it or don't like it, in a lot of cases, my kids are a lot more well-adjusted, at least when it comes to getting laid and being men in the world, than a lot of these guys that were raised by single moms. Not that I'm saying anything bad about single moms. I mean, I've known a whole lot of them. But trying to say all girls are nice, and you got to always treat girls nice, I think it's bullshit. I think you got to treat people nice. But on the other side of it, if somebody's an asshole to you, tell them to hit the road. I mean, if some woman wants to treat me like shit, I tell them to get the fuck out. Just like I'd tell some guy to get the fuck out.
On this exact point, I want to get back to how women are now setting up their own layers, for lack of a better term, where, it's these rules layers. Is this a direct response to the men's seduction community? And if so, how would you say that men should now relate to these women who are studying these rules? Because
I've talked to some of the women that are running these things. They go, if guys are doing it, we have a right to do it also. And they do. I think women have a right to study the rules. I think that guys have a right to go study whatever seduction skills they want. But after you've used those training wheels, maybe you also need to study yourself and what the hell you really want in life. The problem with doing these things, these little mindfuck games to control somebody, is that when you control somebody with those games, you always got to play the game. You can never let your guard down, because what if she finds out you did this and then she starts feeding you back your own poison? I would rather be in a relationship with the women that I choose to be with and who choose to be with me. Not because I mind fucked them, or my current primary, we spend a lot of time together doing stuff that isn't probably very exciting for what most people think. I mean, like, we can sit around, like when it's snowing outside. I mean, she lives quite a ways away from me, but we talk at least once a day, sometimes a couple times a day. But when we get together, we don't have to bug each other. We actually... This one friend of mine said it's because you're comfortable enough with each other that you can find that harmony. Because we're sitting under a blanket just reading a book, and they're going, don't you want to go do this? Don't you want to go do that? I go, I'm just really interested in just kind of chilling tonight. This is about me and her holding space for each other. Here's the thing about the apprenticeship of love. Until a guy or a girl gets enough action, I mean actually gets fucked and sucked enough, they're never going to get out of spiritually what they call the second and third chakra energy. After they've had enough action, whether it's a guy looking for pussy or a girl looking for pussy or whatever they're looking for, enough action, they're never going to get to the place where it comes to the next level where they want to combine and put more heart into it.
I can agree with this. I can attest to this. I went through this, going 5 years with no sex to having 5 girlfriends at the same time. The sex was amazing. It was a lot of fun. And after a while, it wasn't enough. And you want more. But you don't want more of the same. You want more at a, as you would say, a higher level.
You want a different structure of more rather than the same. In the context of relationships, having a relationship where you can actually share time being together with a person who actually... Look, this is a bunch of bullshit, too, because other people say, oh, well, then you had to have her to fill you up. No, you're full of shit. That's what I say to those people. I don't need anybody to fill me the fuck up. First of all, I'm already filled up, and the women I get are not little kids. They're women. They're filled up. Spiritually, and this is why I'm going back into my shamanistic and metaphysical communities. They already get this. When we come down through the birthing, we come from whatever you consider your creator to be. We come down, we're two separate beings. Well, they say in the metaphysical teaching that we long to see the spark of the divine that's in each other. When we do that, that's why we union at first until you get the second chakra, the primal stuff going, fuck enough to get that out of your system. Then you want to sort for where you find the human, you want to spend some other time. People go, oh, you mean quality time? No, because that infers the other shit wasn't quality time. The other shit was learning curve. But when you start learning that, wow, I want to be with this one or two or three women that share the same core values of how I hold life, then your life becomes enhanced. Whatever it is that after you've gone through the adolescent part of the learning curve of relationships, then you come into wanting to connect on a deeper level. Once you connect on that level, every guy is different. Not every guy wants to have 3 to 5 women. Not every guy wants to have a primary and have a polyamorous relationship. Some guys, I have lots of brothers that I've trained that go, dude, I've done that thing and I've done the menaging and she's had her wild days too. We sowed our wild oats, so to speak, but we decided we want to pair bond. And I go, right on. They go, I thought you were all into this, have to date multiple women. I go, I'm not into have to do shit. I'm saying be honest to yourself. If you want a one-on-one relationship, go do that. And besides, why the fuck would you give a shit what I thought about your relationship? It's a relationship between you and this other partner. The reality is, know yourself well enough to what the heck is it you want. Don't get me wrong, I still will see some nice looking women, and my girlfriend likes girls too, and she'll just kind of go, she's kind of cute, and she doesn't even look like a bitchy type, and we laugh about this. This might seem weird to people that don't understand the context, but we can enjoy the beauty. It's like looking at a beautiful rose and seeing how beautiful that rose is, maybe smelling one that somebody really cared for so it really has fragrance to it, without having to pick the motherfucker off. Sometimes you can just enjoy beauty without having to absorb it. I don't care if people honor my lifestyle or not. I tell people to fuck off all the time. I live this lifestyle because this is what I know is right for me right now. And if I expect that I'm going to live this way, other people, as long as they don't cause harm to others, I honor their right to live an alternative lifestyle. But be honest. Honesty is one of the most profound aphrodisiacs because it comes from a place of power, not a place of force. When men can find their true power, women will be attracted to a man of power like moths to a street lamp.
Just to wrap all of this up, and I put a nice little bow on it, one of the running themes that we've been talking about here, when we're talking about what's wrong with the seduction community today, how things have evolved from how it went from a brotherhood of support to guys backstabbing one another, I think the running theme here is that before you can be honest with anybody else, you got to be honest with yourself.
Absolutely.
And the guys coming in who are doing the backstabbing and the whatnot, the reason that they are unable to even be a friend, never mind some woman's lover, these guys don't even know how to be friends. It's because they themselves are not their own friends. They are so far removed from being honest with themselves. They're in this deep space of denial, for lack of a better term.
But see, also, you can't just blame those guys. The lairs should police themselves, and instead of, okay, I'm going to make a statement that, you may want to cut out, but fuck political correctness. I think we need to correct political correctness and cut the shit. If somebody's doing something wrong and they're in your lair or they're in your group, you should be able to go over like a fucking man that has some balls. I'm not saying beat the shit out of him, but just go, hey dude, that's uncool. Whether it's just lying to some bitch just to get his dick wet or whatever. If that's what your group is all about, then so be it. Everybody can be a bunch of... I teach how to have the relationships you want ethically and honestly because I believe that there's things that you have to be held accountable for. And causing harm to other people just to get a piece of ass is a bunch of bullshit.
I agree 100%. As a matter of fact, part of what I teach and how to run a lair is you don't tolerate the stupidity. You have to run it with an absolute. It's not a democracy. It's a dictatorship. And if somebody starts behaving in a way that is going to cause a ripple effect and start creating little monsters, you don't need that in any seduction lair because society doesn't need that. Women don't need that. Other guys don't need that.
Well, also, people are misunderstanding what seduction is. Seduction means to draw people closer to you. That's what we do. We're seduced by advertisement all the time. It does not mean bring them closer and abuse them. So there's a negative connotation that's being developed, and if you're part of a lair, start requiring that the other brothers that are in there are doing something positive, and if they're stepping out of line, you don't have to make a big statement about it, but just say, hey, here's where you're screwing up, man. And if they go, well, fuck you, blah, blah, just go, no. Maybe you need to start your lair that does this. Exactly. Because there's room for the other idiots out there.
I think that multiple layers in any given city is a good thing. So this way, when you kick a guy out of your group, he's got some place to go.
Exactly.
And let the piranhas and the snakes all... You know when you put piranhas in the same fish tank, eventually the piranhas start attacking one another?
Exactly.
That's the way to handle it when you're running seduction layers. Take all the piranhas out of your layer, send them out to the same one, they'll fight amongst themselves.
And find good quality people that are holding the same core values that you hold. And then people will work in a system that is an open architecture where they take information and put it to experience. Remember, information that is not experienced can be nothing more than information. It needs to be experienced before it can turn into knowledge.
And with that, I think we've imparted enough knowledge for this particular project. Steve, it's been great talking to you.
Thanks,
Always
Frank.
a pleasure. Take care, everybody.
Need help with love, sex, dating, or relationship issues? Help from Frank Kermit, the best-selling author and Canada's most international relationship coach, is only a click away at franktalks.com.
If you need help with your relationships, my buddy Frank, he's got some tips. Just go to franktalks.com. His advice is better than your mom's. He knows what you're going through, Frank has been there too. So log on to franktalks.com. franktalks.com.
What do you do when you feel like a fool? When your heart has been broken again? Pick up the phone or get onto Skype and talk on a private session. Yeah, get a little help from Frank Talks. Whoa, get by with a little help from Frank Talks. You gotta try a little help from Frank Talks. What do you do when your love goes away? Try coaching one-on-one. How do I sign up to turn things around? Just sign up at franktalks.com. Yeah, get by with help from Frank Talks. I get by with little help from Frank Talks. Time to try a little help from Frank Talks. Does it cost a lot of money? It's the best rate going around. Could it cost a lot of money?
Would you believe that Frank gets results?
Yes, we're certain. Just read the reviews.
Frank knows his stuff, and Frank's got no goods.
Good love can soon come to you.